Hello and welcome to Out the Gate Review. So Out the Gate, I just caught Spider-Man Brand New Day, so we'll be going into that right about now. If you guys don't want spoilers, this is not the review for you. I will be talking spoilers and everything and my overall thoughts. So if you don't want spoilers, I would recommend leaving this video. I'll tell you, overall, my impression of this movie was mid. So to get right into it, just give a quick breakdown of what the plot of this movie is for those who haven't seen it. Spider-Man, at the end of the last movie, everyone forgot who he was. So he's kind of been just diving deeply into just doing the Spider-Man thing. He gets a call that a tank is going crazy. The Punisher shows up to try to stop the tank as well. Spider-Man eventually stops the tank. Inside is this old woman. She suddenly forgets what she was even doing. Something has jumped from her into somebody else near Spider-Man, and Spider-Man can see that something's not right here. He can actually tell that some sort of presence jumped into a new person. Then that presence jumps into another person, into another person, into another person, eventually leading to Scorpion's escape and sending Spider-Man on this travel to try to find who has been jumping through these people. The person tries to jump into Spider-Man's head, realizes they can't do it. Spider-Man goes on to try to figure out what's going on with this whole thing. There was also a thing where he goes to talk to Yelena to get some information, but she tells him, we don't have anything for you, so whatever. Well, then meanwhile, Spider-Man is also dealing with the fact that he is having some weird mutations pop up. He's starting to get more spider-like. We really see that later on. He's been having these headaches or whatever. In search of trying to figure out what's been going on, realizes that there have been multiple attacks. All of these attacks have been aimed at Damage Control. So he goes there to talk to them. He learns a couple things, whatever. He leaves there. Eventually, Scorpion attacks. And when he goes to fight Scorpion, he kind of is going through this mutation that makes him a little bit more angrier. He starts beating the crap out of Scorpion and damages a police officer. So they get hit as collateral damage. And then he realizes, oh, I really got to figure this thing out. So to figure out what's been going on, he decides to go look to the Hulk, because the Hulk has some sort of neural dampener that's been stopping him from turning into Savage Hulk or even Professor Hulk. Spider-Man goes there to talk to the Hulk, and he sort of figures out what he should do to implant this thing on him. And meanwhile, the Hulk is like, well, maybe you shouldn't plant this chip on yourself, because who knows, this might just all be a natural course of nature or just a new change for you. And during this, Peter Parker is still pining for MJ. There's some stuff there where he's going back, seeing if they kind of recognize him. They don't. Boom. Jean Grey attacks again. She realizes who Peter Parker is and goes and attacks MJ. Spider-Man needs to save MJ. There's some whole thing where Jean Grey is in MJ's body for a little bit, and she's like, there's nowhere that MJ can hide from me, so you better stop stopping me. Spider-Man goes, oh, well, who can protect MJ? Oh, I know. I'll bring her to the Punisher. The Punisher decides, okay, I guess I'll watch her for you. Meanwhile, while they're there, they're still trying to figure out this neural dampener thing. MJ helps him figure that out. Oh, there's another attack on the Damage Control Corporation. Spider-Man goes there. It's Jean Grey, and who does she have with her? Oh, the Hulk. The Hulk is trying to knock down this vault door that this guy from Damage Control is behind. She's looking for this thing called VMAX. And Spider-Man fights with the Hulk. He fights with the Punisher. And yada yada. He takes them both out. The fight with the Hulk was pretty cool. The Punisher gets taken over by Jean Grey, and he takes them both out. Takes out Jean. He throws the neural dampener on Jean Grey. She gets taken by Damage Control. Peter Parker saved the day. He goes back to go tell MJ he saved the day. MJ finds this note that Peter Parker has had for her all this time, realizes who he is, kind of. She doesn't have any of the memories of, all those memories have been erased, so she doesn't have the same feelings or whatever. They both go back to kind of talk to Ned, hang out with Ned, and during their talk, Jean Grey had jumped into MJ's body, and she described essentially just waking up later as if she didn't remember anything that happened. Well, the guy from Damage Control said Jean Grey hopped into his body at one point, and she kept asking for this name, Sarah. Then Peter goes, oh, he shouldn't have had that memory. So he goes to talk to Yelena to get some documents declassified, realizes Jean Grey has a sister named Sarah, and that the Damage Control guy lied to him. He goes back to Damage Control. Jean Grey is being experimented on by this Damage Control guy. They're blasting her with energy. She realizes that her sister died, and what was VMAX? Oh, it was this ventilation system that was above her. So to Jean Grey meant that her sister, the last thing that she ever saw was in this room. So Jean Grey goes crazy. Spider-Man beats up a bunch of the hand that Jean Grey is possessing. He gets this neural dampener that Spider-Man has been using to kind of control his powers because he's been going through these weird mutations. He gets that broken. Jean Grey's talking to him, and she's all up in his head. He just decides, oh, I can be both Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and now I can control this mutation. So he uses that to help beat up the bad guys, and eventually works his way up to the top of the tower. Meanwhile, the Punisher is setting up a sniper rifle to take out Jean Grey. So Spider-Man goes in there. Jean Grey hops into Spider-Man's head because she's holding the lead of damage control hostage, and he's trying to talk her off the ledge. She's got the whole town frozen. Everybody is like held hostage, and she's just berating Peter, and he's like, well, jump into my head. Aunt May, in Peter Parker's memories, talks Jean Grey down, and she decides to let everybody go. But Frank Castle doesn't get the memo, and he fires a bullet while Peter Parker and Jean Grey are like, we have each other. Spider-Man senses the bullet coming. He moves into the way of it, gets shot, and Jean Grey uses her powers to keep him alive while Frank Castle rushes him to the hospital. Frank Castle realizes sort of the error of his ways in a way, and is like, I never had a friend like you. Peter Parker realizes the whole city misses Spider-Man because everybody saw him get rushed to the hospital as Spider-Man, and Frank Castle helps him sneak out of the hospital without getting noticed by the people. And that's the end of the movie. I wasn't a huge fan of the overall story of this movie. To be honest, this whole movie just felt like one big way to kind of bring Jean Grey into the Marvel Universe. This really felt like more of a Jean Grey story and using Spider-Man as the vehicle. And what I mean by that is that there wasn't really an arc for Spider-Man. Now, you can say that him accepting the responsibility of being, I guess, both Spider-Man and Peter Parker, that's what they were trying to tell, but the story kind of overall felt a bit underbaked. It wasn't earned when he made the decision. It just kind of happened out of nowhere, and suddenly this weird mutation that was going on with him throughout the movie, it just sort of started to work for him. And maybe that was the writers trying to say, oh, accepting yourself and then you'll be able to do all the things. So if he finally accepted he was going to be both Peter and Spider-Man, it just didn't really work. It felt like a lot of the plot was really, it all could have been really good, but the entire movie itself felt underbaked. The movie was overall mid with a lot of what I would say is needless cameos. I understand the use of some of them, but like, to be honest, they felt a bit underutilized. It was really cool to see some of the scenes, like some of the spectacle was pretty high up there and pretty cool to see, but overall the need for it just kind of felt eh. And if you are a huge fan of Punisher and John Bernthal's Punisher from the previous shows in Marvel Universe, this was almost an entirely different character. Yes, he's being brought into Spider-Man, which means he needs to play a little bit less Frank Castle, but in this movie he was almost a goofy caricature of himself throughout the entire thing, and the Marvel humor was on 10 in this film, especially utilizing what we know of the Punisher and how he typically acts, bringing him into this movie to kind of just be goofy and overall a bit needless. They utilized him to protect MJ, and he doesn't really do that, and then he snipes Peter Parker at the very end of the movie, and it's supposed to be sort of a, see, they did this in the comics type thing, and to kind of show Frank's like humanity, but it just didn't really translate. Like, none of the emotionally moving parts felt earned, or really, this movie didn't draw anything from me. There was a lot of cool stuff, and I liked a lot of the shots, and we'll get to the cinematography in a bit, but just like nothing moved. They didn't really make me feel like any of these things were earned. In terms of like the modern day like Disney agenda type of stuff, overall the plot kind of, it really did have like a bunch of like, I would say, pardon the pun, webs of that in this. So Spider-Man didn't help Jean Grey. He went in to help her. She really helped herself, and then they couldn't have Spider-Man, the man, help her out. So they brought back a character who should be dead to help talk to her so that she would have this change in her. And honestly, even the conversation they had there didn't even feel like it applied to her circumstance. I kind of felt like this could have just been a Jean Grey movie, and you could have kept a lot of the Spider-Man stuff out. I mean, they're both integral to this plot, but it just, I don't know. It just felt like they really wanted to do a Jean Grey movie, but they just didn't have the guts to do it themselves, to do it without the name Spider-Man attached to it. Spider-Man really, he was the driving force for telling Jean Grey's story, and sometimes that can work. It just didn't feel like it did here to me. She did pretty well as Jean Grey, in my opinion. I think it's a little, she's a little young for what I would have cast, but I understand they probably want to have her longer. I just think that whenever they do end up bringing Wolverine in, if they go the romance route, it's going to look wild to me because she looks mad young in this. Now, back to the cinematography. In terms of cinematography, there was a couple shots that stood out, but there was a lot of needless slow-mo, and even kind of playing that for a joke later on. There was quite a bit of slow-mo in this that kind of made it feel a little like, okay, we're still hitting that button. We're hitting that button over and over and over again. Some of the Spider-Man facing the Hulk, which with the exception of the end, using him to try to break down the vault door, he was kind of not needed. Even when Spider-Man goes to talk to him, like to help himself with this mutation thing, Spider-Man really does all the talking and figures out his own problem. He didn't really need to. He had already figured out how this mutation like dampener worked, but he exposits all that to the Hulk and then comes up with his own way of stopping that from happening, like the dampening his own powers or his own mutation. He does that while he's talking to the Hulk, so he didn't even really need to go talk to the Hulk at all. It was just so that Bruce Banner could give him the "Are you sure you should be messing with your mutation like that?" So, I mean, aside from that one line, he was kind of unnecessary, except for maybe opening up the vault. But then he really proved unnecessary to that end too. So it was kind of just to throw the Hulk in to kind of give him something to do in the Marvel Universe and to kind of backdoor Savage Hulk back into the Marvel Universe. So, I mean, I kind of get it for what they're going to be doing in the future. I understand needing to kind of do that and not being able to do Hulk in his own movies. But it just kind of felt like, okay, this is supposed to be Spider-Man. Like, at the end of the last movie, it was supposed to be Spider-Man kind of by himself doing his own thing now. But we brought all these people in. And the biggest cameo, unnecessary cameo to me, was Yelena. They bring Yelena in to do next to nothing for him. Like, in the beginning, she literally tells him, I can't do anything for you. And then at the end, I think the only thing she really does is declassifies some documents for him just to tell him that Jean Grey has a sister, and that's about it. He really didn't even need to ask her. He could have went and asked the guy himself because he knew that guy lied to him, and that's what he ends up going to do after talking to Yelena in the first place. So it was just to show, hey, we still have the new Avengers. You guys remember them? And Yelena, I haven't seen the movies that Yelena was in, but she seemed very comedic, and just from the promo stuff that I had seen from the Thunderbolts and Black Widow, she seemed like more of a serious character in that. So it kind of felt like when they brought everyone to Spider-Man, everyone just got like uber goofy, and I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of that. Some of the action was cool. So far, I haven't seen a Spider-Man fight scene that I've really liked in any of the movies that they've had. There, with the exception of the Hulk one, I would say the Hulk fight scene is actually really, really good. And bringing I don't know why they brought Frank Castle into that situation. It was just to have the Punisher fighting the Hulk, I think. But yeah, overall, I would just give it about a 5, maybe when I was leaving the theater, I kind of felt a little bit more optimistic about it, like probably a 7, because I really like Spider-Man as a character. I have felt mixed about how Tom Holland has portrayed Spider-Man. I like him as a actor, but in this role, it hasn't necessarily been my favorite. So I really liked what he did with it in this movie. The suit felt a little goofy at times, like it didn't feel like it fit him fully, but aside from that, I mean, he did fine in a lot of the scenes, and as Spider-Man, he was toned down from that really young type of humor and reference to pop culture thing this, reference to pop culture thing that, rather than my favorite depictions of Spider-Man being a little bit more snarky and pointed, rather than just reference to pop culture. Yeah, there was a lot less of that in this, so thank goodness for that. And some of the best scenes were probably Tom Holland hanging out with hanging out with Ned and MJ. That was really cool. The whole end bit with the Punisher didn't really feel earned to me. There was no real reason that Frank throughout this should have felt the way that he did, especially in the beginning, being like, I mean, throughout this whole thing, he's just been ready to shoot Spider-Man, and then he claps him or he does shoot him, and he is suddenly just like the soft teddy bear for him, and that didn't really feel Frank Castle to me. Overall, yeah, give the whole thing a 5. Music was alright, and nothing that really stood out. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Farewell!